We're in the hot seat today, so we're going to ask each other the burning questions that some of our clients want to know. So let's get into it. All right, you going to ask the first question, or you want me to
I
ask
am
the first
going to
question?
ask the first question.
I can't wait.
I got to remember what the first question was. Oh, yeah. John, a lot of people ask, is this a good time to buy?
I get that question daily.
And what do you tell them?
So I think the why is much more intuitive than the answer. But to me, the answer is yes.
And why do you say yes? Because some people say yes and no, right?
Yeah. So real estate purchasing as a not an investment, but as a home, say. Okay. So I'm talking about a homeowner now.
Okay.
It's always a long-term commitment, right? So what would keep you from buying a home today? What do we hear? What's one reason that people don't buy homes today?
Why? I'm not going to ask me. I'm going to ask. I should have been asking him that question, right?
Interest rates.
So what's wrong with interest rates?
They're too high. Right? So they're gonna wait for interest rates to come down. Do you hear that?
Yes.
I hear that all the time.
Yeah, but what do you tell them when they say too high?
So the thinking is that they're going to come down. Are they?
Do we know that? Is anything ever guaranteed in real estate?
No.
Okay.
Or in life.
Right.
So here's the truth about that statement.
Okay.
So let's take our average or medium home price now is approaching 400,000. It's 392,000 or whatever it is. It's 400,000. So, and the rate today doesn't really matter. Although, for my example.
Oh, okay.
Although rates are as low as they've been since December of 23. And
That's
probably going to see a little bit more in a month or two. Probably September, we're going to see a half or a quarter of a point.
Why do you say that?
The way the economy is, it's slowing, so they're going to try and do something to stimulate it a little bit.
Okay.
So I think the Fed will actually cut rates in September.
Do you think this has anything to do with elections as well?
Yes and no. It's kind of convenient, but we got a bad jobs report. We got a pretty bad inflation number. The economy's obviously slowing, so I think they're going to try and stimulate it a little bit.
You're going to stimulate
so,
it.
But
okay.
for this example, at $400,000 at today's rate, let's say it's 6%, you're an FHA buyer, okay? So you buy a $400,000 home, your payment, insurance, property insurance, mortgage insurance premium, your payment's about $3,000.
Wow.
Okay, it's a lot of money.
Okay. That's a lot of money.
Okay, if rates go down 1 point, 1 percentage point, and I did a video not very long ago, and I said, hey, if rates were down 1%, would you buy a home? Oh yeah, we'd love to buy a home. Okay, so take that example. At today, if rates were 5%, 1% lower, you'd save $200 a month. $200 a month is a lot of money, right?
I would say that's a PG&E bill, but not really. Not
anymore. So that's $2,400 for the year.
Okay.
So if you bought last year at 6% and then refinanced when they went to 5%, it would cost you about $4,000.
Sure.
Okay. So $4,000 plus $2,400 is $6,400. Okay. So here's the problem with waiting to time the market. In that year, middle of last year to middle of this year, in this market, home prices have gone up about 4.5%.
That's about right.
Okay, so a $400,000 home at 4.5% a year is $418,000. So by not buying that home, you've lost $18,000 worth of equity.
Right.
And it would cost you $6,500. So you lost almost $12,000 by not buying the home.
Yeah, and people don't look at it like that.
I know they don't, but they should.
But they should.
I think it's more of an excuse, and it's not you can't buy a home. It's maybe the home you can buy. It's not what you've been thinking about. So we wait. Look back at 2005. The height of our real estate run.
Do you remember that far back?
I do,
Okay.
believe it or not.
Just checking.
If you bought a house in 2005,
Okay.
the crash came,
Okay.
right after that. You can debate when it was, 7, 8, 9, whatever. By 2013, you would have been making money on that same house. So 8 years later. Okay?
Okay.
So at 13 to 24, those home prices have more than doubled. But people continually try to time the market, and they just don't know. It's to me, yes, it's a good time to buy a home if your plan is long term. Meaning, I know I'm going to leave here in 2 years. That's not a good plan. That's probably a don't buy a home. And that's the one case I'd say that don't do that. But if you're in this for the long haul, now you don't know what life's going to bring you. You're going to have more kids. Jobs may change. But as those things happen, you have the ability then to say, oh, do I take that path? Where am I at with my home? Or not?
So let me ask you a question.
Great.
Okay. What makes me want to believe you? Because you're a real estate agent. You actually gain from me purchasing a home. So how do I know that what you're telling me is true? Because I could rent for a while until the market goes down, which we hear that all the time, or interest rates go down. I could rent for a while.
You could.
So one, why would I believe you? Okay. And two, why wouldn't I just continue to rent? So there's actually two questions in that.
So rents are even worse than home prices. There's a more of a shortage of rental properties than there are homes.
So give me an example. I buy a house or I'm thinking about buying a house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's roughly 400,000, we'll call it. And then I turn around but I'm in a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and I'm paying rent easily. You could be paying, well, I'll just use my house as an example. I'm off Loop, and it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. And my house could rent for $2,700 a month easily. Okay. Now my house would sell for probably about $465 to $475 right now. So my payment would be so much more.
So maybe as a first-time home buyer, that's not the house you should buy.
But that's the house I want.
Well, you know what Mick Jagger says, don't you? As part of the Stones real estate team, I say this all the time. You can't always get what you want.
You can't always get what you want. Okay.
But sometimes you get what you need.
But so what would you tell me though? Like
Well,
I'm reluctant. I've never bought a home, and you're telling me as an agent who makes money off of me, I'm just going to call it what it is, right? Why do I want to do that? Why do I want to make that change and that difference between? Because renting is secure. I'm secure with renting, right? I don't have to fix anything. I don't have to do any of that. So why would right now be okay?
So have you heard the phrase that the fastest way to wealth in this country is owning real estate? Renters aren't rich.
No, and so I'll just say, whose mortgage do they pay?
They pay the owner's mortgage.
That's exactly it.
Why are they renting that house? Because it makes financial sense. So the example I just went through, that's factual. Just do the math. Now, we don't know what everyone's so afraid of. I'm going to wait till the market goes down, or what if I buy now and the market drops? So what? So what? If you're in this long term, what's the average length in a residence now?
I don't know. It's probably 7-10 years.
It's over 10 years.
It's over
now.
10 years.
Yeah. Since COVID, it's in the 12-year range.
Well,
So
that's because there's nothing to buy.
we disagree about
Whole
that.
nother one.
But people tend to stay in their homes longer.
They do.
So if let's say tomorrow the market crashed, and you're going to stay in that home for 10 or 12 years.
Yeah.
Just like in 2005, 8 years, and you're already making money. So you bought at the absolute worst time, price-wise, that you could. And within 8 years, you were already making money on that home.
Yeah, but I'm not going to go back, John. I don't want
What
to
do
go
you mean?
back and think about it. I want to think about right now, moving forward.
Okay. So
Why-
what's the market going to do in the next year?
Do we know?
No, but you're making a decision to not move forward because you're going to wait for some event that may or may not happen. Look at the people who in 2013, so about 8 years after that crash, oh, the market's gone up ever since 2010. It's got to have a correction. Look at those people. Look how much equity they've lost waiting for that market to go so they can buy right at the bottom. Do you know how you buy at the bottom? Do you know how you know when it's the bottom? Whether it's the stock market, whether it's housing. Do you know when you know?
No, when do you know?
When it's off the bottom.
It's starting to go back up. Yeah, yeah, that's true.
I mean,
That's true.
it's like my financial advisor. I've got that manages my retirement stuff. And he says most of the money that's made in the market is not made at the peaks and the valleys. It's made in between.
In between.
And if you pull money out, if you pulled money out a week ago, you're looking like a genius, right? Well, no, it's when do you get back in? And look at the change that you could have had in your accounts in all the little ups and downs between now and then. And then when you get back in, is that the bottom? How do you know? Well, you know when it's off the bottom and come off. Now you've missed the bottom.
Now you've missed it. So I'll tell you what I tell my clients is, and you've heard me say this, it's like stop living your life in what ifs. Because if you live your life in what if, well, what if the market drops? What if the interest rates don't go down? Well, what if they go up? We saw something weird happen in our business, and I've been in it for 20 years. I never thought that rates would going to go back that high again.
Everyone's waiting. They say. I think it's a defense mechanism not to make a decision.
Well, it's scary to buy a house.
It is scary to buy a house, but if you can afford the house, so that's the other part.
That's
of this,
the big thing.
Is you say, well, I don't want to buy the house. Well, I'm sorry, you probably should, because when I bought my first house, 9 months later, I bought the house I really wanted because I made enough money I could do it.
Yeah, and that's what I tell my clients too. I'm like, I call it baby steps,
Get in.
right? Get in. I mean, we don't want you in a bad area, right? But get into something because you can always fix it up. You can do things to it. You can make it very comfortable. And then if you don't, I'll just say it, if you don't do something stupid and refinance it and pay off your car,
Or buy cars.
all my clients that have done what they should have done, then they have had equity to now buy the house that they really want to buy.
Yeah.
So
As long as you think you're long term.
Yes,
meaning
absolutely.
I'm not going to move to Seattle in 2 years, because if that's the case, that's too risky and you should not buy a house.
Yep.
But if you're long term, and as those opportunities present themselves, then you can look at it and say, where am I at? Does it make sense? Does it make financial sense?
So if I was to buy a house now, the interest rates have gone down a little bit, so which
Yeah.
is really nice, right? And I buy a house now, do we have any kind of projections of what the market's going to do in the next year? Will it go up 4%, 5%, 7%? Do we have any clue whatsoever?
Well, the experts,
Which is not us.
which is not us. I mean, they even revised 24. They thought 24 we were going to see 1.5%, and most of them are in that 4.5%,
Yeah, we've
5%, which
gone
is
through
what's
it.
going to happen. My thought is, why does it matter? If you're in this long term, who cares what things happen? What
But they're going to ask.
They're going to ask. But my response is, who cares?
So also buying a house, you get the write-offs from the house, where when you're renting a house, you don't get that either. So, I mean, there's
And anything
extra
you
perks.
fix improves the house.
Improves the house.
Of course, if you do it right. But
Yeah, don't
seen a
get
few
John
of
to
those.
come do it, okay?
No. So my answer is, it's almost always a good time to buy a house, and the market really does not matter. It is what it is. All we know for sure is what we can deal with today.
Yeah.
So prices and interest rates. What can I afford today? And now I'm speaking to the first time home buyer. What can you afford today? Get in. Know that it's a long-term play. And it doesn't matter what happens after that. If rates go down, you refinance. Now, I would say, as a consultant, I would say, okay, you're going to refinance. How much is it going to cost? $5,000. Okay. How much you can save on your payment? $100. Okay. How long are you going to be in the house? So $100. Is it 60 months? What is it? 50 months?
Yeah, something like that.
50 months. So that's 4 years. So at 4 years and 2 months, now you're at a break-even point. Are you going to be in the house more than 4 years?
More than likely.
Probably.
Yeah.
So it might make sense. But if you've now been in the house 4 years and you've got kids and now they're becoming teenagers and you need more than one bathroom, maybe that's not a smart move. Maybe eat the $100 a month, save the money, and be ready to move on. But though, I mean, everyone lives in a payment, and payment's not always the best source of making a decision.
So, good time to buy,
Always a good time to buy, as long as it's long term.
and you can afford it.
And you got to buy what you can afford. You got to deal
That's
with
right.
what's
That's
happening
right.
today.
So, and we have good lenders. Both of us have good lenders. So if you have any questions on how to get qualified, we've got you covered there too, right?
Yep. Have any questions? Please put them in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and we'll talk to you later. All right. Let's turn that off.